scorenorth.com. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and the aforementioned website. And gentlemen, how do you feel waking up knowing the order of the Vikings opponents? Feels good on this Friday, doesn't it?
It's almost as exciting as the fact that this is an action movie rewind Friday, which is probably the thing I'm most jazzed about today. I got to be honest. I mean, I'm glad the Viking schedule is out and I've got takes and really, really spicy thoughts. But my God, Arnold.
So
are you serious?
I'm going to tell you that I have never. At first, I thought I've seen Commando just off and on TV.
Yeah.
I think I've only seen GIFs of Commando on Twitter. I have never seen Commando until this morning. I have takes.
I have seen it before, but here's the difference. I've seen lots of things, but have I appreciated them? When I watched Commando, I had an appreciation.
Boy, it is. All right, so we're going to do that.
Anyway, that's what, in order, very excited, the National Football League schedule out, more excited to talk about Commando.
So we're going to dive into that. Action Movie Rewind makes its return here. I know it's been, as we've talked about all week, it's been a tough week at Score North. Layoffs across the company just due to COVID and the economic impact. And so we're picking this up. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff, and we're pushing ahead. If this is the first time you've ducked in and you're wondering what's going on, we're taking the Score North torch and we are running with it as much as we can. Go back and listen to our explanation episode from Monday on Mackey and Judd. But Mackey and Judd, the podcast, Purple Daily podcast, and YouTube galore at youtube.com/Score North. All kinds of Viking stuff. Also, Royce Unchained is going to continue on.
Yes.
Royce on Baseball will continue on. The Scoop with Doogie is going to continue on. And so we're going to take our smaller patch of real estate here.
Don't forget.
Judd's
What the
He
hell?
did it on purpose. He knew he did.
Thanks,
He did it
Declan.
on purpose.
Thank you, Dex.
Wow. Fresh episode yesterday.
Pass
by
shoot
the way.
score.
2 days ago.
But Judd threw it out. We scrapped
So
our
exciting.
first segment. We had a first segment ready to rock and roll, and Judd said, no, script change.
Most sports talking heads make predictions and hope you forget about how wrong they were. But not Mackey and Judd with Rami. This is the big leagues where we own our terrible predictions.
Write this down.
And keep track of each other's batting averages.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
It's Write That Down with Mackey, Judd, and Rami.
Pour one out for Rami. We love him. He said goodbye on Tuesday's episode. All right, Judd, what's your brainchild here?
Okay, my brainchild is write that down, exclusively devoted to the Vikings 2020 schedule. But of course, last night when the schedule came out and we were doing our the three of us, Declan drinking claws, you drinking something of
It was a foggy morning.
of a what?
Yeah, you blacked out and had the Vikings 15-1. If I
You
remember
did,
last
by
night.
the way. And Phil, you were drinking what last night?
I was drinking some sort of I don't remember the name of the brand was.
Because it doesn't really matter.
But it was some kind of an old fashioned in a bottle situation.
And I, of course, as usual, was drinking beer, which explains the sudden weight gain during the entire shutdown. My idea was this. Let's write that down. Let's each throw out 3 predictions related to the Vikings 2020 schedule, but they're not wins and losses because we've all gone there before. So 3 things outside of wins and losses. It can be individual games. It can be something that's going to happen to games. It can be individuals and something that's going to happen to them. But write 3 things down that go beyond what happens as far as the victories and defeats.
I love this.
Writing things down.
Who do you want to start? You want to lead off?
No.
These are
I
on
think
the record,
you should
by the
lead
way.
off. Let's have Declan go second, and I'll go third. How does that sound?
All right. These are on the record. Declan, do you have the ability to keep track of these last minute here?
Sure.
Okay, you are the
And
you
come
are the
up
new
with 3
gatekeeper.
yourself,
Yeah.
young man.
All right.
I'm still a little confused on what you want. So what is this?
I want 3 predictions for the
Write
Vikings
it down. You like writing things down.
2020 schedule that don't go to wins and losses. So it can be you pick a guy to have a huge game. It can be you pick a guy to get hurt. It can be
But you
pick
said
a
things that
schedule change.
surprise you, right?
Yeah.
So this is if it's things that surprise you, then this is, if I could reframe this, a home run edition, Viking schedule edition of Write That Down.
Well, and it might just not be. It might be things that are going to surprise you a bit. That doesn't mean that it has to be off the charts. Oh my God, I can't believe that.
I've got 2 home runs already here.
But something, you know what? You can take it in any direction which you so choose. That's the beauty of Write That Down.
All right, so these are official. This isn't like a practice session of Write That Down. These go on our record.
Yep, you're being into the fire.
Declan's first week, and write that down. He's going to have 6 predictions on his.
Write this
resume.
down.
All right, I'll start us off. Write this down. The Vikings play Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers, Week 12, Sunday, November 29th. Write this down. Teddy Bridgewater will be sacked at least 5 times in that game at US Bank Stadium.
That's a good one. See? That's exactly what we're looking for here.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
Write that down. I'd say might get hurt too, which would have been really
That
would have been classless.
That was my first prediction, and then I thought that's probably a little bit over the top and classless. So
Okay. My turn.
Yes, it is.
Write this down.
Irv Smith will catch the first touchdown pass from Kirk Cousins
okay. All right.
of 2020.
Possibly against. I mean, if it's not against the Packers in Week 1, that means that they probably
Could
lose
be
that
week
game.
2, 3, 4.
So you
5.
purposely skirted it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a veteran move right there. I don't really appreciate it, but it's a veteran move.
It is.
Write it
I
down. You
appreciate it,
like
but I
writing
don't.
things down.
Had you ever made how many write that down predictions before this week have you made in your career?
I would say probably a dozen
Okay.
or so.
Did you ever make them your first stint as a producer when you were a part-timer back in the day?
I feel like I did. The first stint of the producing was just the epic wrecking of Game Show Friday that stands out the most. So I don't really, everything else kind of was blacked out from that.
That's a tough one to produce, by the way. Game Show Friday was not an easy assignment for any producer.
Now that you're back, we might have to mix it in
No,
again.
I will leave.
I love.
I
You know
will
what?
go away.
The people love Game Show Friday.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
All right, over to Judd.
All right, I will give a specific one, and it's like Declan's, but I'm going to say that this is in Week 1 against the Packers. As the Packers playing the Vikings at US Bank Stadium do their damnedest to take away the Irv Smiths of the world and Adam Thielen's, Justin Jefferson will catch 2 touchdown passes in Week 1.
Oh, wow.
Justin Jefferson's going to get off to a great start,
Ooh.
and he is going to be, I don't want to say ignored by the Packers, but I think he's going to step in. I think he's going to play pretty well, and he's going to catch 2 touchdown passes in what I've already predicted is going to be a Viking victory in Week 1. Hand over the purple Kool-Aid.
All right.
Write this down.
So I also am drinking Justin Jefferson Kool-Aid. I think that dude's going to be, at worst, a rock-solid NFL wide receiver, and at best, I think he's going to be a star.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
I don't know if he will be a Randy Moss-level star. However,
That's fair. Yes, I would agree with you.
the Vikings play the Dallas Cowboys the week heading into Thanksgiving on Sunday, November 22nd. That game is going to be a 3:25 national window on Fox. So not on Thanksgiving Day, but a few days beforehand. Thanksgiving week, let's call it. It'll be at US Bank Stadium. And Justin Jefferson will have a Randy Moss-like breakout against the Dallas Cowboys.
Whoa.
Justin Jefferson will score 3 touchdowns or more against the Cowboys 22 years later in that game on Thanksgiving week.
Wow.
Write it down.
Whoa.
Write it down. You like writing things
So
down.
3
Write that
touchdowns.
I don't have a pencil. Well, remember that.
I thought I
At
was.
least 3 touchdowns or more.
Oh,
At
boy.
least.
All
Because
right.
if he scores 4, I'm not getting cheated out of this point.
Yeah, no, you're good. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, sorry. Philly had 5.
All right, my next one. Sticking with the rookies here. Jeff Gladney will have the first pick 6 for the Vikings this season. He will have the
Write
first
it down. You like
pick
writing
6
things down.
for the Vikings.
Care to give me a game?
Also implying, by the way, that the Vikings will have multiple pick 6s in 2020.
could.
It's kind of a
Care,
parlay.
care to give me a game?
No, it's gonna be the first one. I'm not gonna give you the game. Nope.
Darn it.
Nope.
Darn it.
There's a couple candidates early. I'm looking at you, Phillip Rivers, week 2 at
Oh.
Indianapolis.
Love it.
Oh, boy.
Probably going to happen.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
All right, back to Judd.
All right, my second one, I'm going to remain on, I guess, what you could consider a positive track before finishing this up with a negative. The Vikings game on Sunday, December 20th, is scheduled to be a noon kickoff on Fox against the Chicago Bears. It's going to be with 3 games left. And in the schedule that we predicted last night, boys, I had the Vikings going into that game having beaten the Panthers and Jaguars at home and then Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on the road. So the Vikings will be hot. As of right now, the Vikings only have 2 primetime kickoffs, and they've got what are considered 3 premium games because you throw in the Christmas Day game against the Saints. Well, as a result, this December 20th game, in a division that I think the Vikings can win, and I certainly don't think there's going to be one team that's going to be just unbelievably great, this game is going to be flexed into a primetime start. The Bears on December 20th will be an NBC Sunday night game because the Vikings, I'm sorry, but 2 primetime games seems ridiculously low.
It does.
Like I get they're calling the Saints because that's a standalone Christmas Day game, a premium game. So I completely get that. But you're telling me with the amount of teams that have 5, and in the Cowboys' case, 6 premium games, that the Vikings are only worthy of 3. Like, that's ordinarily, and I get the Vikings aren't super sexy, but come on,
they're sexier than I think you're giving them credit
no, they
for.
probably are. And the thing about it is, if you look at their division, are you really telling me that like you think they're going to be next to Detroit?
Yeah, like
I just don't see that.
Listen, the Vikings are definitely less sexy without one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in Stephon Diggs, and some of the players that they've lost. Like, I think their defense was sexier 2 or 3 years ago when it was just the best defense in the NFL, right? So like the Ravens made primetime games for years with boring offenses because they had the best. They had Ray Lewis and they had the Ed Reed. But I just think 2 primetime games is low. I'm with you on this one, and they have an opportunity. But then again, there's only like 2 real opportunities late in the season. The Tampa Bay game and the Chicago game are probably the only 2 because New Orleans is already a special Christmas game.
Yep.
That at Detroit game only gets flexed if Detroit is also in the mix for a playoff spot.
I think that Bears game, because the Buccaneers right now are at 5 primetime games. I think that Bears game is a very logical one to be flexed. And I think that game, I don't love Chicago, but I'm not going to be absolutely shocked if that game's important to the division.
So we can't count the Saints game as a primetime game.
It's a national TV game,
yes.
and I guess technically that is kind of a primetime game because it's going to be the only game on at that time.
I ask this because I said there'd be 3 primetime games in the schedule release on the Write That Down on Wednesday.
No, it's not a primetime game.
It's a 3:30 game.
The Vikings internally are calling it a premium game, so they're counting it as far as their premium games.
Gasoline.
But it's not. But it's not a primetime game, dude, because it starts. Unfortunately, you know what? If it kicked at 6 o'clock, I'd say, Dex, you get the point. But Write That Down is a brutal experience, which treats and teaches young people what life can be like. And you just learned a really valuable lesson.
2 got written off already in the 48 hours I made my first Write That Down. So I'm ready for 2.
Yeah, and I'm just to Google here, just real quick. I am Googling primetime TV window, and
no, it's not.
It is commonly defined as 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern time.
And next year, if you use the word premium, you get the point.
Yep. Take your lumps, young lad.
Write this down. Write it down. You like writing things down.
All right. Is it my turn now?
Yes.
It's our final round here.
Yes,
final
sir.
prediction.
Final round.
All right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Write this down. The Vikings have 2 games against the Packers as usual. Week 1 and then week 8 coming out of the bye. Plenty of time to prep for both. Write this down. Danielle Hunter at some point this season will sack Jordan Love.
Okay. Bunt single, but I like it.
No.
Oh, Jordan Love.
No,
Jordan
he
Love.
said
I wrote
Jordan
the wrong
Love.
guy.
No.
Write it down. You like writing
Riders
things
on the
down.
Braves.
No, it's
Write
damn
this
near a
down.
home run.
Damn near a home run.
Yeah, that is a good one.
It's a parlay. It's Jordan Love will play,
Oh my gosh.
and Danielle Hunter will sack him.
You purposely buried the lead.
Write this down. Write it down. You like writing things down.
Back to Declan.
All right, my final one. I'm going for a big swing here. The Vikings will not lose a divisional road game this season. They will beat Green Bay at Lambeau. They will beat Chicago at Soldier Field.
Wow.
They will
That's a
beat
home run.
Detroit at Ford Field. The Ford Field one as a single, but Lambeau and
no,
Soldier.
No, but as
It's
a
not
whole,
it's not a single.
that's a home run.
That
I
is
would
a
say
home
it's-
run.
Okay, wait. The whole thing's a home run.
When
but
is the last time they did that? 1998?
Great question.
The last
09?
time they
No,
beat all
didn't.
3 of those
They
teams. 'Cause-
lost to the Bears in 09.
And in 98, technically, if you're talking about like winning all your
Yeah.
division games, they did lose a road division game in 1998 because
You know
the
what?
Buccaneers won their division.
Did they win at Detroit a few years ago? Because I was going back through the schedules last night, and I know I'm a loser. But anyway, beside the point, they beat.
Can you repeat that whole sentence again?
I said I was going back through the Vikings' old schedules last night, and
Football.
yes, I am a loser.
Also, if you couldn't tell, we have the button bar back today.
Yeah,
So
I've never seen Phil this happy.
a little bit of a
Come on. Football.
bit of an
So
island for me.
if we were to do an impromptu rank 'em right now, happiest days of Phil's life, button bar back, then maybe the marriage, or is it button bar back, something to do with the Twins, and then the marriage?
Game 163, button bar back, game 163,
and a
then
WrestleMania.
The WrestleMania I
Let's
soloed in Miami in 2012.
Okay, then
and
the marriage.
Then the
Well, and let's
yeah.
not forget the night that young Phil ran into his mom's room because Ron something was selling baseball cards.
Don West.
Don West was selling
They're called
baseball
wax boxes.
Okay, so now the marriage is 5th.
I put the marriage above that night, but it's that night's top 10.
You talk
for
about that night more.
sure.
By the way, fact checking, the last time the Vikings did that, 2015. They won all 3 divisional road games in 2015.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. 2015.
Yeah.
They didn't make the playoffs in 2015.
No, they did. That was the infamous Blair
That was
Walsh.
the Blair Walsh year?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was 11-5.
It feels like, and it's not fair, but it feels like they've lost at Soldier Field for about 15 consecutive years.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I think it's only like once or twice since I've been born.
And the crappier the Bears are, the more likely it is the Vikings will lose at Soldier
They
Field.
lost to Chase Daniel, for God's sake. So yeah, that's a home run by me.
So Judd, have you made your? You haven't made your.
I've
Prediction?
not made my third one.
Write this down.
Write this down. Sean Mannion will start at least 2 games for the Vikings. Not because, and it won't be week 17 that the Vikings have it clinched like they did last year. Sean Mannion will start 2 games in place of Kirk Cousins because of Cousins' an injury. And here's why I think that, okay?
So just to clarify, if Cousins gets benched because he's playing bad.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count because I don't think he will.
He has to start.
Yeah. And here's why I say that. Kirk Cousins became Washington's starting quarterback in 2015, okay? His last 3 years then, through 2017 in Washington, he started all 16 games. With the Vikings in his first year in 18, he started all 16 games. 2019, last season, he started 15 of the 16 games, did not start against the Bears in week 17 because the whole thing was wrapped up. In other words, since 2015, Kirk Cousins has never missed a game because of injury. That's laudable and good for him, but I don't think it's realistic to think a guy who plays as much as Kirk Cousins does is never going to get hurt. I think Sean Mannion makes at least 2 starts for the Vikings because of injury to Kirk Cousins.
And you know what's amazing about Cousins, and this probably warrants us carving out extra time either on Mackey and Judd or Purple Daily just to go over kind of the state of Kirk Cousins. With him playing every single game, like you just said, and with him just being a steady, rock solid, good fantasy number quarterback, he can, and older guys come off the board. You know, Tom Brady is going to come off the board at some point, and Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger, like Phillip Rivers. There's this old guard of quarterbacks. You know, the more he plays every game and the more he's just dependable and solid, not a superstar, the more he continues to move up. I mean, we did yesterday on Purple Daily, and another cheap plug for youtube.com/scorenorth. We all had him solidly as a top 10 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that's an interesting he's a top 10 quarterback that has a couple glaring flaws that definitely prevent you from being what you want to be as a team.
He's around 10, right?
He's probably between like 7 and 10 right now. Depending on what Tua turns into and Joe Burrow.
There is a dearth, and it's just the reality of things. But for what's required athletically of that position, you know, there's only 5 great ones. It to me is there are quarterbacks, starting pitchers who are aces, because every team, and we've talked about this in regards to Barrios 1,000 times before, every team does not have an ace. And in hockey, I liken it to centers who are, clear-cut number 1 guys. Every team does not have one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's not a rip on Cousins. It's the reality of the position he plays, at which he is a very competent player. But is he a great one who you would choose to be your Super Bowl quarterback? No, he's not.
Yeah. So there it is.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
A little impromptu write that down session, ordinarily heard on Wednesdays here on Mackey and Judd. And if you're interested in being a guest listener participant, shoot me a DM just at Phil Mackey on Twitter, and we'll get you on the schedule for sometime either later this month or sometime in June.